Tom stood at the bus stop, his worn backpack clutched tightly against his chest. The cold London rain had soaked through his only jacket, and his stomach growled with hunger. 3 days ago, he had been robbed of everything except his passport, and the clothes on his back. Now he needed exactly 2:37 for bus fare to reach the British Embassy, where he could get proper help. Person after person walked past, avoiding eye contact with the bedraggled young man. Tom understood. He looked homeless and desperate. Hours passed as the evening grew darker and colder. His university dreams seemed further away than ever. Then, a well-dressed man approached the bus stop. Tom recognized him from somewhere. Perhaps television. With his last bit of courage, Tom stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir," Tom's voice cracked. "I'm so sorry to bother you, but I've been robbed and need to get to the embassy. Could you possibly spare 2:37 for bus fare?" The man looked at Tom, really looked at him, unlike everyone else that day. His kind eyes seemed to see beyond Tom's. Disheveled appearance. "What's your name, mate?" the man asked in a distinctive accent. Tom Wilson. "I'm Michael, but friends call me Big Shaq." Big Shaq did not reach for his wallet right away. Instead, he studied Tom's face. There was something honest in the young man's eyes, despite his dirty clothes and messy hair. The famous musician remembered his own hard times, before the money and fame, when he too had needed help. "How long have you been standing here, Tom?" Big Shaq asked. "Since morning," Tom replied, his voice small. "Nobody wants to help. I don't blame them." Big Shaq nodded slowly. "When did you last eat something?" Tom looked down at his wet shoes. "Yesterday morning. Had half a sandwich." The rain fell harder now. Other people at the bus stop moved away from Tom, as if his bad luck might spread to them. But Big Shaq stepped closer. "The embassy will close soon," Big Shaq said, checking his expensive watch. "Tell me what happened to you." Tom explained how he had saved for 3 years working night shifts at a factory back in Liverpool. He had come to London for a university interview, hoping to study engineering. His mother had been so proud. Then, on his first night in the big city, someone had stolen his bag with all his money and phone while he slept at the train station. "I just need to get to the embassy," Tom finished. "They can help me call my mum and get away home." Big Shaq listened without interrupting. When Tom finished, he did not just give him the 2:37. Instead, he put his hand on Tom's shoulder. "The flag. Embassy is closed now, mate, but I know people. Come with me." Tom hesitated. His mother had always warned him about strangers. But what choice did he have? "Where are we going?" Tom asked. "First, somewhere to get you dry and fed," Big Shaq answered. "Then we'll sort out your problems." They walked to a small restaurant nearby. The staff knew Big Shaq and quickly found them a quiet table in the back. The smell of warm food made Tom's stomach hurt with hunger. "Eat," Big Shaq said when their food arrived. "Then we'll talk." Tom tried to eat slowly, but he was too hungry. As he ate, Big Shaq made phone calls. Tom heard him mention the embassy and a hotel and clothes. When Tom finished eating, Big Shaq put down his phone. "Right. Here's what's happening. Embassy is closed till morning, but I've called ahead. They're expecting you. I've booked you a room at a hotel nearby for tonight." Tom shook his head. "I can't accept that. The bus fare was already too much to ask." Big Shaq smiled. "Look, Tom, years ago someone helped me when I needed it. Today I'm helping you. Tomorrow you'll help someone else. That's how it works." "But why?" Tom asked. "You don't know me." "I know enough," Big Shaq replied. "I know you're not asking for a handout, but a hand up. Big difference." After dinner, Big Shaq's driver took them to a small hotel. The manager gave Tom a key, and Big Shaq handed him a bag with new clothes, toiletries, and a prepaid phone. "Get some rest," Big Shaq said. "I'll be back in the morning to take you to the embassy, and then we need to talk about that university interview you missed." Tom stood speechless in the small but clean hotel room, holding the key like it might disappear. "Thank you isn't enough," Tom said finally, tears welling in his eyes. "It's enough for now," Big Shaq replied with a warm smile. "Get some sleep, Tom. Tomorrow will be better." As Big Shaq left, Tom sat on the edge of the bed, still stunned by the sudden change in his fortune. From needing 2:37 to having hope again, all because one person stopped to really see him. Big Shaq didn't immediately reach for his wallet. Instead, he asked, When did you last eat properly, Tom? Tom looked down at his muddied shoes. Day before yesterday. Had half a sandwich from a bin. Big Shaq nodded, his expression thoughtful rather than pitying. Listen, mate, I've been where you are, not exactly, but close enough. The bus can wait. Let's get you something warm first. Before Tom could protest, Big Shaq led him to a nearby cafe. The staff recognized the celebrity and quickly found them a quiet corner table. As the smell of warm food hit him, Tom's eyes welled with tears. I was saving for university, Tom explained between bites of hot shepherd's pie. Had just enough for one term's tuition, 3 years of night shifts at the factory, all gone in. One moment. Big Shaq listened intently as Tom described his engineering dreams and how he'd traveled to London for an important scholarship interview, which he'd now missed. My mum's counting on me, Tom said quietly. She's worked 2 jobs since Dad died. I can't go home empty-handed. Big Shaq's expression changed. You won't. The warmth of the cafe wrapped around Tom like a blanket. He hadn't realized how cold he'd been until now. His hands shook slightly as he spooned the shepherd's pie into his mouth. Big Shaq ordered tea for them both, along with extra bread and butter. Slow down a bit, mate. Food's not going anywhere, Big Shaq said gently. Tom nodded and tried to eat, more slowly. Sorry, it's just been a while. No need to be sorry. Tell me more about this interview you missed. Between bites, Tom explained how the scholarship would have covered his full tuition at London Engineering College. He'd been preparing for 2 years, studying late into the night after his shifts at the factory. The scholarship committee only interviewed 20 students each year, and Tom had been one of them. I was supposed to be there yesterday morning, Tom said, his voice breaking. By the time I realized my stuff was gone, it was too late. I tried calling from a payphone, but they said rules are rules. Miss the interview, lose your spot. Big Shaq's eyes narrowed slightly. What's the name of the person you spoke with? Professor Robert Green. He's the head of the committee. Big Shaq pulled out his phone and stepped away from the table for a moment. Tom could hear him speaking firmly but couldn't make out the words. When he returned, there was a small smile on his face. Finish your meal, Big Shaq said. We've got places to be. After Tom had eaten every last bite and drunk 2 cups of tea, Big Shaq paid the bill and led him outside, where a sleek black car waited. Where are we going? Tom asked, suddenly nervous. First, to get you cleaned up, Big Shaq replied. My friend, James, owns a hotel nearby. He's got a room for you tonight. I can't accept that, Tom protested. The meal was already too much. Big Shaq stopped walking and turned to face Tom. Listen to me carefully. 3 years ago, before all this fame, I was sleeping on my mate's couch. No money, no prospects. Someone saw something in me and gave me a chance. Not charity, a chance. That's all I'm doing for you. Tom swallowed hard and nodded. At the hotel, the manager greeted Big Shaq warmly and handed Tom a key card. Room 304, sir. As requested, we've left some items for your guest. In the room, Tom found clean clothes laid out on the bed. Nothing fancy, just jeans, t-shirts, socks, and a warm jacket. In the bathroom were toiletries and a new razor. Get yourself cleaned up, Big Shaq said. I'll be back in the morning at... Thanks for what? Tom asked. Your interview. Tom's eyes widened. But I missed it. They won't... They will, Big Shaq interrupted with a smile. Professor Green has agreed to give you a special interview tomorrow. One phone call from me and suddenly the rules got a bit more flexible. Tom sat heavily on the edge of the bed. Why are you doing all this for me? Big Shaq was quiet for a moment before answering. When I was younger than you, I made a promise to myself. If I ever made it big, I'd help people who reminded me of myself. You're smart, hardworking, and you hit some bad luck. I can't fix everything, but I can get you that interview. I don't know how to thank you, Tom said. Ace that interview tomorrow. That's how, Big Shaq replied. Then someday, when you're a big-shot engineer, you do the same for someone else. Deal? Deal, Tom said firmly. After Big Shaq left, Tom stood under the hot shower for what felt like hours, watching the dirt and despair of the past 3 days wash down the drain. As he put on the clean clothes and looked at himself in the mirror, he barely recognized the person staring back. For the first time since being robbed, he felt like himself again. That night, as Tom lay in the comfortable bed, he thought about how his life had changed in just a few hours, all because he'd asked for 237 from the right person. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, but tonight hope had returned. The next morning, Tom awoke in a modest but clean hotel room. He could hardly believe what had happened. After dinner, Big Shaq hadn't just given him bus fare. He'd paid for a room, brought him fresh clothes, and even a prepaid mobile phone. "Get cleaned up," Big Shaq had said. "I'll be back at 9. Precisely at 9, there was a knock. Big Shaq entered with a laptop and a broad smile. "I made some calls," he said. "The university committee agreed to give you another chance. Video interview in 1 hour." Tom's heart raced. "But I'm not prepared. I don't even have my documents." Big Shaq placed a reassuring hand on Tom's shoulder. "The committee knows your situation. This isn't about papers. It's about you, your knowledge, your passion." For the next hour, Big Shaq helped Tom prepare, sharing wisdom about perseverance and self-belief. Tom slowly transformed from defeated to determined. "Why are you doing this?" Tom finally asked. Big Shaq's eyes grew distant. "When I was 16, I had nothing. Then someone saw something in me worth believing in. Sometimes all it takes is one person to change everything." Tom looked around the hotel room, still amazed by the sudden turn in his fortune. Yesterday he had been standing in the rain with nothing. Today he was preparing for a second chance at his dream. The warm shower had washed away days of dirt, and the clean clothes made him feel human again. "I don't know if I can do this," Tom said, pacing the small room. "What if they ask about my projects? All my notes were in my stolen bag." Big Shaq sat calmly on the edge of the bed. "Tell me about your best project." Tom hesitated, then began to describe the small wind turbine he had built for his village back home. He had made it from old bicycle parts and scrap metal. It wasn't much, but it generated enough power to light the community center. As Tom spoke, his hands moved with excitement. His eyes lit up. He forgot his nervousness as he explained how he had solved each problem one by one. "That's what they need to see," Big Shaq said when Tom finished. "That fire in your eyes. That's what will get you in, not papers." They practiced. Possible interview questions. Big Shaq was tougher than Tom expected, asking detailed technical questions. When Tom didn't know an answer, Big Shaq taught him how to say so honestly without feeling ashamed. "Nobody knows everything," Big Shaq explained. "Smart people know what they don't know. That's more valuable than pretending." At 10 minutes before the interview, Big Shaq set up the laptop. He straightened Tom's collar and looked him in the eye. "Remember why you're doing this," he said firmly. "Think about your mum. Think about all those nights at the factory. You've earned this chance, now take it." Tom nodded, his throat tight with emotion. "I'll wait outside," Big Shaq said. "This is your moment." The video call connected. 3 serious faces appeared on the screen, Professor Green and 2 other committee members. Tom took a deep breath. "Mr. Wilson," Professor Green began, "we understand you had an unfortunate incident. Please tell us why we should make an exception in your case." Tom looked directly at the camera. The fear was still there, but so was something stronger. Determination. 3 years ago, Tom began, my father died. He was an electrician. His tools are the only things of his I have left. He taught me that when something breaks, you don't throw it away, you fix it. My dream to become an engineer didn't break when I was robbed. It's still here. I'm still here, and I'm asking for the chance to fix my situation. The committee members exchanged glances. Something in Tom's voice had caught their attention. "Very well," said Professor Green. "Let's proceed with the technical questions." For the next 45 minutes, Tom answered questions about physics, mathematics, and engineering principles. Some answers he knew well, others he struggled with. But he never pretended to know what he didn't. When they asked about practical experience, Tom told them about the wind turbine. He described how he had taught himself using library books and YouTube videos. He explained how the children's faces had lit up, literally, when the lights came on for the first time. As the interview ended, Professor Green's stern expression had softened slightly. "We'll be in touch within the week, Mr. Wilson." The screen went black. Tom sat still for a long moment, exhausted but proud. He had done his best. Whatever happened next, he could face it. Big Shaq knocked gently and entered. "How did it go?" "I don't know if I'll get in," Tom said honestly. "But I didn't let myself down. I didn't let you down." Big Shaq smiled broadly. That's all that matters. For now, come on, there's more to do today. More? Tom asked, surprised. Your life doesn't stop with one interview, Big Shaq replied. You need proper clothes, a place to stay until you hear back, and most importantly, you need to call your mum. As they left the hotel room, Tom realized that regardless of the committee's decision, something fundamental had changed. Yesterday, he had been alone in the rain asking for bus fare. Today he was walking beside someone who believed in him, and sometimes that made all the difference. The interview went better than Tom could have imagined. Despite his ordeal, his knowledge and enthusiasm shone through. The committee members were impressed, especially when Tom explained how he'd built a small wind turbine for his village using scrap parts. We'll be in touch within a week, the head of the committee promised. After the call ended, Tom turned to Big Shaq, who'd waited quietly in the corner. I don't know how to thank you, Tom said, voice thick with emotion. Don't thank me yet, Big Shaq replied. There's more work to do. The scholarship might cover tuition, but you'll need living expenses. That afternoon, Big Shaq took Tom to meet William, an old friend who owned an engineering firm. William offered Tom a part-time position that would work around his studies if he got accepted. It's not charity, William explained. We need bright minds like yours. Michael told me about your wind turbine project. That's exactly the kind of innovation we value. For the first time in days, Tom felt a flicker of real hope, not just for himself but for his mother, for the future he'd almost lost. Sometimes the darkest moments, Big Shaq said as they left, are just before the light breaks through. The city looked different to Tom now. The same streets that had seemed cold and uncaring yesterday now felt full of possibility. As they walked, from William's office, Big Shaq pointed out landmarks and shared stories of his own early days in London. It wasn't always fancy cars and nice hotels for me, Big Shaq said. I slept on floors, ate whatever was cheapest, but I kept pushing forward. Tom nodded, taking in every word. I still can't believe any of this is happening. Believe it, Big Shaq replied. But remember, opportunity is just the first step. What matters is what you do with it. They stopped at a small phone shop where Big Shaq added credit to the prepaid phone he'd given Tom. Then they found a quiet bench in a park. Call your mum, Big Shaq said gently. She needs to hear your voice. Tom's hands shook as he dialed. It had been 3 days since he'd spoken to her. He knew she would be sick with worry. Tom? His mother's voice was tight with fear. Where? Have you been? I've been calling and calling. Tom explained everything, the robbery, the missed interview, meeting Big Shaq, and the second chance with the committee. As he spoke, he could hear his mother crying softly. I'm sorry I worried you, Mum, Tom said. I'm just glad you're safe, she replied. But who is this Big Shaq person? Can you trust him? Tom looked over at Big Shaq, who was giving him space. By walking a few meters away. Yes, Mum, I can trust him. He's the reason I still have a chance. After the call, they headed to a small flat in a modest neighborhood. Big Shaq unlocked the door and showed Tom inside. My cousin owns this place, Big Shaq explained. It's empty for the next month while he's away. You can stay here until you sort things out. The flat was simple but clean. A small bedroom, tiny kitchen and bathroom. To Tom, after 3 days of hardship, it looked like a palace. This is too much, Tom protested. It's empty anyway, Big Shaq said with a shrug. Better you than no one. They sat at the small kitchen table and Big Shaq pulled out a notebook. Right, let's make a plan, he said. If you get the scholarship, you start in 6 weeks. You need clothes, books and money for food. The job with William would start next week. It'll be hard work, but it'll cover your needs. Tom looked at the notebook where Big Shaq was writing down numbers and dates. Why are you doing all this? Tom asked. The hotel and interview help, I understand. But this, planning my life? Big Shaq put down his pen and looked at Tom directly. When I was your age, I had talent but no direction. I made mistakes because I had no one to guide me. Then I met someone who took time to show me a better path. He didn't just give me money, he gave me a plan. That's what changed everything. Who was he? Tom asked. A music producer named David, Big Shaq replied. He saw past my rough edges. He's the reason I make time for people like you now. As evening fell, they ordered takeaway and watched football on the small TV. It felt strangely normal, as if they weren't a famous musician and a homeless student, but just two mates enjoying a quiet night. "Tomorrow," Big Shaq said as he prepared to leave, "we get you some proper clothes for your first day at Williams. And you should write down everything you remember about your wind turbine." William was really interested in that. For the first time in days, Tom slept peacefully. The fear that had been his constant companion was replaced by something new. Not certainty, but possibility. He had lost everything, but somehow he had found a path forward, and it had all started with a request for 237. Tom stood outside his university dormitory, clutching the keys and feeling a mix of pride and disbelief. The scholarship committee had not just accepted him, they had awarded him their most prestigious full grant. His hard work was finally paying off. The small frame in his room held a special treasure, 237, a gift from Big Shaq on his first day of classes. The note beside it was simple but powerful. "It's never about the amount. It's about someone caring enough to give it." Tom remembered those words every single day. His weekend job at Williams' firm was going smoothly, and he had just sent some money home to support his mother. But more than the financial help, Tom had learned something valuable: the importance of helping others. Each week, Tom made sure to carry extra bus tickets. If he saw someone stranded or struggling to get home, he would quietly offer them a ticket. These were small acts, but they meant everything to those who received them. He understood what it felt like to be helpless, and he was determined to make a difference. One chilly autumn evening, an unexpected invitation arrived. Big Shaq was hosting a charity event, and Tom was asked to attend. When he arrived, the atmosphere was warm and inspiring. Surrounded by people who believed in making positive changes, Tom felt a sense of belonging. Suddenly, Big Shaq called him onto the stage. The crowd went silent, waiting to hear what would be said. "This young man," Big Shaq announced, "reminds us that our greatest opportunity is the chance to help someone else." His story began with 237, but it continues with how he pays it forward every day. Applause filled the room. Tom stood there, slightly embarrassed but deeply moved. He realized that the true gift wasn't the money, the connections, or even the scholarship. It was something much more profound: the restoration of his dignity and hope. In that moment, Tom understood that life wasn't just about receiving help, but about extending that same kindness to others. The 237 had been a spark, a small gesture that ignited a much larger flame of compassion and understanding. As he looked out at the audience, Tom saw faces of different ages, backgrounds, and experiences. Yet they were all connected by this simple truth: a little kindness can change everything. The small act of giving, of caring, could open doors that seemed permanently closed. His journey wasn't just about personal success. It was about creating a chain of support, where each person who receives help becomes someone who can help others. Tom had transformed from a young man in need to a source of hope for those around him. The event that night was more than just a celebration. It was a reminder that humanity is built on these small, meaningful connections. A bus ticket here, a few pounds there. These weren't just transactions. They were bridges between people, between struggles and solutions. Tom thought about his mother, who had always taught him the value of compassion. He thought about Big Shaq, who saw potential in him when others might have looked away. He thought about William, who gave him a chance at work. Each of these people had believed in him, and now he was carrying that belief forward. As he left the stage, Tom felt a sense of purpose. His life was no longer just about surviving, but about creating opportunities for others. The 237 had been a symbol of hope, and now he was becoming a symbol of hope for someone else. The night air was crisp and the city lights twinkled around him. Tom walked with a quiet confidence, knowing that every small act of kindness was a step towards something bigger. His story was still being written, one moment of compassion at a time. Sometimes the smallest requests, the tiniest gestures, can open doors to the most unexpected blessings. And in those moments of genuine connection, we discover our shared humanity, a truth Tom now lived and breathed every single day.